All right, let's talk about seeing our planet in a whole new way. We're going to dive deep into two hidden dimensions that satellites are uniquely able to unlock for us. First, there's the dimension of time, and then there's the dimension of light. You're about to see how watching our planet isn't just about snapping a pretty picture. No, it's about capturing its invisible pulse and its most subtle shades of color. This is going to be fun.
So let's start with a little thought experiment. You've got a satellite, and its schedule says it passes over the same spot on Earth every 5 days. Okay, so it flies over a river valley, snaps a pic, everything looks totally normal. 5 days later, it comes back, and guess what? Everything still looks perfectly fine. But what if, on day 3, a huge flood ripped through that valley and was gone by day 4? Well, from the satellite's point of view, it never happened. The entire event was completely invisible.
And that right there, that is the core of the problem. A single snapshot in time can be so misleading. If you really want to know what's going on, if you want to track disasters or check on crop health or watch a city expand, you can't just rely on a single picture. You need to see that hidden pulse. And that brings us to our first invisible dimension, time. Now, this whole idea of how often we look has a technical name, of course. It's called temporal resolution. But really, all it means is matching the rhythm of our cameras in space to the rhythm of Earth itself. You know, some changes happen in a flash, like a wildfire. Others are incredibly slow, like a glacier melting over decades. You have to be looking at the right time to see either one. So, let's get the official definition on the table. Temporal resolution, which you'll also hear called revisit time, is just the amount of time that passes between two pictures of the exact same spot. Simple as that. Now, for some satellites, like the big weather satellites you see on the news, they're in geostationary orbit, so they're basically parked over one spot all the time. But for the satellites we use to monitor land, well, they're zipping around in low Earth orbit, and getting back to the same place is a much bigger challenge. What's so fascinating here is that revisit time isn't an accident. It's a choice. It's a fundamental design trade-off. If you want to see the whole world every single day, you can do that with something like PlanetScope, but you'll have to launch a huge mesh of over 200 small satellites. On the other hand, you could have a massive, powerful satellite, like Landsat 9, that sees an incredible detail, but it's only going to come back to that same spot every 16 days. See, there's no single best option. It all boils down to what you're trying to see. But every good story needs a villain, right? And for optical satellites, the villain is something we're all familiar with: clouds. You just can't see through them with a normal camera. So that awesome 5-day revisit time from Sentinel-2, well, if you're looking at a super cloudy place like the Amazon rainforest, you might only get one usable, cloud-free image a month. Your effective revisit time just went from 5 days to 30. So how in the world do we beat the clouds? Well, we use a really clever statistical trick called median compositing. It's actually a pretty simple idea. You just collect a whole stack of images of one place, over, say, a month, clouds and all. Then, for every single pixel, you look at all its different brightness values from that stack, and just pick the one in the middle, the median. And since clouds are usually bright and they move around, they get mathematically erased, leaving behind this gorgeous, seamless, totally cloud-free map of the ground. It's pretty amazing. And when you use these techniques to build up a really, really dense history of data for location, you can do some truly incredible things. There are algorithms out there, like one called CCDC, that don't just look at 1 or 2 images. They model the entire 10-year history of a single pixel. They actually learn its normal seasonal heartbeat, green in the spring, brown in the fall. And when they see a sudden, sharp break from that normal pattern, they can flag it as a major disturbance, like a new road being cut for illegal logging. Okay, so we've just journeyed through the dimension of time. Now, let's switch gears and explore our second hidden dimension, light. This is all about what we call radiometric resolution. And honestly, the best way to think about it is this. It's the difference between trying to draw a masterpiece with a little 8-pack of crayons versus having a professional artist set with 1,000 different shades of paint. To put it simply, radiometric resolution is just a measure of how sensitive a satellite sensor is to tiny, tiny differences in brightness. We measure this in bits. And the more bits you have, the more shades of gray or color that sensor can see and record. This gives us a much, much richer and more detailed picture of the energy that's reflecting off the surface of the Earth. Here's where the rubber meets the road. An old legacy 8-bit sensor can only see 256 levels of brightness. That's it. So if you're looking at something dark like a body of water, you can sometimes see these weird artificial-looking bands. It's called contouring, and it happens because the sensor just isn't sensitive enough. But a modern 14-bit sensor,
It can see over 16,000 different levels. That means it has no problem seeing the fine details hiding in the deep shadow of a canyon and the blindingly bright glare of fresh snow in the exact same picture.
But wait, it's not just about the number of bits. The true king of radiometric quality, the thing that really matters most, is something called the signal-to-noise ratio, or SNR. Imagine you're trying to listen to a really quiet, beautiful piece of music. That's your signal. Now imagine a loud, buzzing refrigerator in the background. That's the noise. A high SNR just means you have a ton of clean, clear music and very little of that annoying background buzz.
So, why do we care so much about this? Well, it's absolutely critical for things like what scientists call the dark target challenge. Think about it. Water is dark. It doesn't reflect a lot of light. So if you're trying to spot something really subtle, like a little bit of pollution or the start of an algal bloom, the signal you're looking for is incredibly faint. You absolutely need a sensor with an extremely high SNR to have any chance of picking that tiny but vital signal out from the dark, noisy background of the water itself. So, we've got our data. We captured it at the right time with a super sensitive sensor. We're all done, right? Not quite. There is one last absolutely crucial step. The raw numbers that the satellite beams down to Earth, they're not really scientific measurements yet. To turn that raw data into real science, we have to process and calibrate it. The best way to think of this is a before and after. The before is called level 1 data. That's what the satellite sees from space, and it's full of atmospheric junk, haze, dust, you name it. The after is level 2 data, or surface reflectance. This is where scientists have used really sophisticated models to basically peel away the atmosphere, showing us what the light looked like on the ground. And that is the magic that lets us confidently compare an image from today to an image from 1980 and know we're comparing apples to apples. Okay, wow, we have covered a ton of ground, from the planet's pulse to painting with light. So let's just take a second and lock in the most important ideas from all this.
All right, here we go. First, temporal. If you want to see fast stuff like fires or floods, you need a high revisit rate, period. Second, radiometric. High bit depth and a great signal-to-noise ratio are what let you see details in the really dark and really bright parts of an image. Third, clouds. They are always the enemy for optical sensors, and compositing is our superhero for getting rid of them. And finally, calibration. You absolutely have to convert raw data to surface reflectance if you want to do any kind of real scientific analysis over time.
And all of this brings us to one final exciting thought. We are, right now, entering an incredible new era of Earth observation. There are thousands of new, incredibly powerful satellites being launched. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that we have these amazing tools to see our planet's hidden pulse and its deepest colors, what invisible changes, what secret stories of our planet will we finally be able to see?